from Barron Trump's son, running as a delegate in Florida, to a discovery of mass graves at a church supposedly being found a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember this, but it was fake. It was a hoax. This is in surprise to nobody whatsoever. We also have babies by any means necessary won't fix the West's fertility woes. Now, obviously, when we bring in kids to families that don't have complete families, then that's not going to be something that is going to be better for the child. If we're going to say that we need kids by any means necessary, then we have a lot of kids in that exact problem. With all of that being said, we have all of these things that I just talked about and a lot more on today's episode.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
Let's dig into the discovery of the grave supposedly found at a church. The discovery of a mass grave of Indigenous Canadian children was actually a hoax. According to the Federalist, 3 years ago, a major story broke in Canada that seemed to confirm every left-wing prejudice against Christian imaginable. A mass grave containing the remains of Indigenous children was supposedly discovered on the grounds of what has once been a government boarding school run by the Catholic Church. It turns out that the whole thing was a hoax, a modern-day blood libel against Christians that ended with at least 85 Catholic churches across Canada being destroyed by arson, vandalized. Canadian political and civil society leaders cheered on this destruction and then doled out hundreds of millions of dollars to investigate the mass graves and import a, quote, support fund for Indigenous people. To this day, no remains have ever been found at the site of the alleged mass grave, despite nearly $8 million being spent looking into it. You won't hear the corporate press report on this story now, but in the summer of 2021, it was everywhere, and no wonder it had all the elements of just story. The mere historical existence for these former boarding schools, which operated from 1860s to 1990s, remains a source of outrage among liberal Canadians. So of course, when we look into this and we see, well, why are people actually freaking out about this 3 years ago? Well, that's because of the fact that a lot of people thought that this was actually true. And by no degree whatsoever, they thought that just because of the fact that it was a Catholic church and they're evil and stuff like that, that's why they believed it. But there was no evidence to actually prove this. So what does the state have to say for this? What does the country of Canada have to say for themselves now that they put the blame on the Catholic Church and caused 85 different churches to, reap the repercussions of this made-up story? Nothing. Justin Trudeau says absolutely nothing. The rest of Canada, the Parliament in Canada, the government of Canada, nothing whatsoever. It's just disgusting. I don't respect a country that just can't own up to the actions that they made. If you made a mistake in the government, good. Okay, own up to it. Own up to the mistake. Own up to the government. Own up to the people that you represent, because you just lost the people's trust, if there was any trust left. With that being said, we're going to be digging into the next Federalist article we have. Babies by any means necessary won't fix the West's fertility woes. The Western world could use some more babies, but creating children by any means necessary, as French President Emmanuel Macron recently suggested, it's not a suitable solution. France, like many European and North American countries, suffers lagging replacement rates that threaten to undermine the nation's structure and culture. Now, I completely agree with this. Now, when you bring in babies to families that aren't conjoined, that aren't together, that aren't a union together, then you raise children that are degenerates. Raise children that don't have any respect for anybody else but themselves, because there was no respect ever given to them. There was no discipline ever given to them throughout their childhood. With that being said, we need to make sure that babies are made in men and women households with good families, with good values, with responsibilities, with all of the above. Good parenting. And that's not good parenting. Making sure that a children is set up to a failure of a home with just one dad or just one mom, separate. There's not a mom and a dad in the household. It's not a good thing. Setting families up or our quote unquote families up with just one parent is not a good thing. If it happens, it happens, but we should not be over here just giving a baby through surrogacy and stuff like that to families that only have one parent. We should not. That's not the example that we should be setting forth. France's largely socialized healthcare system already funds IVF for anyone who wants a baby. As a result, more than 4% of the nation's babies are born after conception in a test tube. Markin hopes that relaunching France's birth rate with promises of free fertility tests and more taxpayer-funded infertilization IVF will invigorate the population to procreate by whatever means necessary. Until recently, we were a country of which this was a strength. It's been less true in recent years. Markin admitted in January after learning that his country saw 6.6% drop in births from 2022 to 2023. Markin's plan may appeal to the rising number of rich and famous and political who believe that science and technology alone will revive birth rates and improve on humanity's biological limitations. There is, however, a dark side to this proposition. France's sponsorship of test tube babies sentences at least 150,000 embryos to their deaths each year on the taxpayer's dime, and is responsible for creating thousands of motherless and fatherless children by design. The plan is also ineffective because even after trying for years to positively impact the nation's birth rates, it fails to address the factors reasonable for the dramatic tumble. The end does not justify the means. As the Federalists David noted last month, there is a myriad of reasons for low birth rates, including loss of religiously abortion, widespread availability of birth control, and possibly even fear-mongering about climate change. Yes, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't want my kids growing up in a planet that's dying and stuff like that. It's just stupid. It's just fear-mongering. It's making people worried for no reason whatsoever. It's not on any evidence whatsoever at all either. So to sit here and say, well, we had this planet for the last millions and millions of years, but all of a sudden, we're going to be reaping the destruction of Earth is not going to happen. No, it's just stupid. No, and France needs to fix their issues real quick, but we're trying to throw stones from a glass house here in America. We're not doing good either. So with that being said, we're going to be digging into the Daily Wire article. We have House quickly rejects bill to oust Mike Johnson as speaker. So Mike Johnson is the Speaker of the House. Now, if you did not already know, the Speaker of the House needs to, do something called compromising. And compromising means that you don't get everything that you want, and the person that you're compromising with does not get everything that he wants or she wants to. So that means that you're compromising. You're adding what you both want in the bill to get the bill passed on the House floor, because you need to pass the House of Representatives, and then it goes to the Senate. And then after it passes the Senate, then it goes to the president's desk, and then the president can just say veto or pass the bill into law. Once the president passes the bill into law, then you need to, as House of Representatives or Congress more broadly, which is the Senate and House of Representatives put together, need to make sure that the bill actually gets put into effect correctly. You need to make sure that they're using the bill that you passed correctly. Now, if and this is like a bill up on Capitol Hill, this is how it goes, okay? This is exactly what is supposed to happen. Now, what people don't realize is that before a bill gets put onto the House floor, the House of Representatives member, that was actually voted into the House speakership, which is the Speaker of the House, needs to choose which bills to put on the House floor and which bills not to put on the House floor. And then the House Minority Leader, meets with the Speaker of the House, which is a House Majority Leader, and then they compromise for each of their parties. The Majority Leader would be the party that's in charge at the moment, so that is the Republican side. But the Minority Leader would be the person that's not in charge. Now, a lot of people already know this, but for the people that do not know this, you need to compromise with the Minority Leader. And the Minority Leader needs to compromise with the Majority Leader. Well, okay, so most of you already understand that Mike Johnson cannot get ousted because of the fact that, well, he legally can. But the thing is, he should not be ousted because of the fact that that's the point of him being there, is compromise. Yes, we're not going to get everything that we want. Yes, of course, things happen with the House speakership that you might not agree with, but that's the exact point. That's supposed to put the fire underneath all of the House of Representative members and the Congress members more broadly to actually get the majority of the House and the Senate. So you should be able to pass the bills that you want, because if you don't have the majority, then you cannot pass any bills that you want to pass because of the fact that you just don't have the majority. So simple, super simple. So this is the article from the Daily Wire. House quickly rejects bid to oust Mike Johnson as Speaker. So on Wednesday, the GOP-led House quickly defeated a bid for Marjorie Taylor Greene to remove Speaker Mike Johnson from the House speakership. Within an hour of Greene declaring that she was going through her motion to vacate the chair, an announcement met by the wave of boos in chamber, members overwhelmingly voted to table the measure by 359 to 43. Yeah, this is not a popular thing to oust Mike Johnson. The measure was introduced in a privileged fashion, meaning leadership had 2 legislative days to act on it, similar to what Rep. Matt Gaetz did last year to queue up the vote that led Kevin McCarthy's ouster as Speaker. Unlike what happened with McCarthy, who lacked support from across the aisle when he was forced out of his role, Johnson had the backing of Democrats, who said that they would vote to table a motion to vacate the chair brought by Greene. He also got a boost from former President Donald Trump, now the likely GOP nominee in the 2024 election, who stood up with Johnson at Mar-a-Lago in April and said that the Speaker is doing a great job. Yeah, but then Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't want to accept that for some strange reason. It just doesn't make much sense. Marjorie Taylor Greene has always been with Trump, but then on this, she's not with Trump. So it just doesn't make any sense. When the vote finally did take place, 196 Republicans, 163 Democrats voted to table the motion from Greene. 11 Republicans, 32 Democrats opposed it. 10 Republicans and 11 Democrats did not vote. I want to say that I appreciate the show of confidence from my colleagues to defeat the misguided effort. This is certainly what it was, Johnson told reporters after the vote. Greene has been talking for a long time about using a motion to vacate against Johnson ever since late March, when the House passed the $1.2 trillion spending package. At least 2 other Republicans, Rep. Thomas Massey and Paul Gosar, supported Greene last month as she refused to relent on her campaign against Johnson. Johnson and Greene met over the last couple of days, during which Greene made a series of what she said were suggestions, including defunding Special Counsel Jack Smith's inquiries into Trump and no more financial aid for Ukraine. Okay, but that can't happen because it was already passed into law, so you can't. Mike Johnson can try to take that off the bill. The bill won't get passed, and then we're gonna have to go back and then revise the bill. How about we just save all of that just by including exactly what needs to be done? Obviously, Ukraine needs to be there because of the fact that we have seaports next to Ukraine that we need to go through to get things here to America. So if we don't allow that, if we allow Ukraine to be taken over by Russia, then where is Russia going to go to next? Number one. Number two, how are we going to get the supplies that we need here through Ukraine to get them here if Ukraine is not a country anymore, is not an ally of America anymore? Just does not make any sense here. So with that being said, we're going to be digging into the headlines of the week. Moving right into the headlines of the week, we actually have Barron Trump running for a delegate in Florida. Now, a lot of people have mixed reactions about this. I think that it's actually a really, really good thing because of the fact that obviously he's going to have the support of obviously former President Trump. But the thing is, then he could just continue the Trump name in that way. I thought that it would be good to see Eric Trump or Don Jr. run for president, but maybe in the future we can see Barron Trump actually run for president. But in the meantime, he's running and he was actually selected to be a delegate in Florida. So the other delegates include Kimberly Michael Bolos and former Attorney General Pam Bondi, who ran pro-Trump super PACs, and many state-level Republican politicians who took the risk of endorsing Trump over Ron DeSantis. Barron has mostly stayed out of politics and is graduating from high school next week. We are fortunate to have a great group of grassroots leaders, elected officials, and and members of the Trump family working together as a part of Florida delegation in 2024 Republican National Convention. The RNC will hold its convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in July. Trump stated that he might announce his running mate during the RNC convention. Okay, so we're going to know who's the vice presidency in July. So we just have a few months to go. In early April, it was revealed that Barron's first choice college was New York University, only a few miles away from his family's building, Trump Tower. Previously, Trump and Barron's mother, Melania Trump, mentioned that they were looking at the University of Pennsylvania, the former president's school, as one of the schools their son might attend. Yeah, so this isn't really talking about the delegation. Of course, Barron Trump, we don't really know a lot about him because he has stayed out of politics. All we know so far is that he's Trump's son. That's about it. We really don't know a lot of other things about Trump. Barron Trump, we obviously know that he's a Republican. There's no way he's gonna be running as a Democrat, especially in Florida. But it's just a little bit confusing too, because if he wants to go to college, then he can't be a delegate in Florida. So it's like, how are you gonna do both of these things? You need to choose one thing. If you want to stay in politics, which you should see the attacks that his father went through. Trump went through many attacks, so it's not really a good thing to go into. I would never wish the presidency on anybody. So no, I would just very much urge him to stay out of politics. Just enjoy your life, enjoy it. Maybe be governor, maybe that's max, maybe congressman. I would stay out of the presidency. I would like to see it happen, but I would feel bad for whoever has to go through the presidency like that. So with that being said, we do have another article from the Daily Wire. We have RFK Jr. says cognitive issues stem from a worm that ate portion of his brain, then died. Yeah, so what's up with these politicians just saying things that just don't need to be said? Why is RFK Jr. saying this? Why is RFK Jr. spilling the beans on this? Why does he feel the need to actually, tell everybody about this? And the same exact thing, why does Kristi Noem feel like she should tell everybody about her killing a dog? These politicians have no moral compass whatsoever. RFK Jr. could have been a good candidate. I think that he's dead in the water now. How are you going to sit here and say, well, I'm missing a portion of my brain because a worm was eating it? Like, why would you ever tell anybody this? I would, if I was in these, if I was the person that helps these people, like their political advisors and stuff like that, I would be ripping my hair out. I would be like, RFK, why did you just do that? Why did you spill the beans on this personal matter that nobody even knew about before you told them? And just like Kristi Noem, why are you spilling the beans on something that nobody knew about except for you? This does not make much sense whatsoever. Independent presidential hopeful Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that some cognitive issues he suffered more than a decade ago could have stemmed from a parasite, a worm that ate a part of his brain before it died. According to the New York Times article published on Wednesday, Kennedy had sought treatment in 2010 for what a friend was worried could be a brain tumor. He had been experiencing memory loss and a few other symptoms and had just lost his uncle, the late Senator Ted Kennedy, Democrat from Massachusetts, to brain cancer. So he went to check it out. While his initial diagnosis was a tumor, one doctor suggested his scans indicated something else, a parasite. Kennedy recalled the doctor's words in 2012 deposition, saying that he believes the damage was caused by a worm that got into my brain and ate a portion of it and then died. I had cognitive problems, clearly, he said in the deposition, also noting that around the same time he has been diagnosed with mercury poisoning, which was attributed to the amount of fish in his diet. I have a short-term memory loss, and I have longer-term memory loss that affects me. Okay, wait a second. So you're telling me that you want to be president of the United States, but you have short-term memory loss and then you have long-term memory loss. Why would you ever be president then? Why would you ever, oh my god, why would anybody vote for RFK at this point? It just does not make any sense whatsoever. Doctors eventually concluded that after multiple scans showed no change in Kennedy's brain, the dark spot that they have seen was not a tumor, but the remains of the parasite. Possibly, the New York Times said, a pork tapeworm larva that could have contacted while traveling abroad. Kennedy says that he has long recovered and throughout the campaign has made it a point to show himself exercising and staying fit. Yes, I know, but that doesn't mean anything when you just come out with this for no reason whatsoever. You're going to sit here and say that you're missing a part of your brain. You have short-term memory loss and you have long-term memory loss. Can you remember anything? If you're president and we have a war, can you remember what was even said to you during the briefing? Are you even fit to be president? I don't know. I don't know, guys. This is not good for these politicians to be coming out and saying these things. They're setting up for failure. I don't know why they're setting themselves up for failure. It just does not make any sense to me. I don't. This is a huge miscalculation on this. It just doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing this to yourself? So moving into the next article, we actually have okay. So yeah, we have a lot of politicians setting themselves up for failure, but we have Trump setting himself up for victory. So according to the Daily Wire, Trump slams Biden for threatening to withhold military aid to Israel, taking the side of these terrorists. Of course, because there's already a dedicated amount for Israel, and now the president is saying that he's not going to provide these weapons to Israel. But now, Anthony Blinken, which is a military head, says that they are going to give the weapons to Israel. So what was the point in saying that they weren't going to? I have no idea. It's just stupid. Why are you going to sit here as Joe Biden and say things that just are not even happening? Dude, nobody even asked you to comment on it at all. Maybe somebody did in the interview, but nobody wants you to comment on it as the American people, because now you're flip-flopping on the issue. You're looking like you're weak. It just does not make much sense whatsoever. So on Wednesday, former President Donald Trump blasted President Biden after he accused Israel of attacking population centers and threatened to withhold military aid to the Jewish state if Israel attacked Rafah. Yeah, but Rafah needs to be attacked if they move out the innocent civilians, which they are doing already. They have tent cities. They have spots that these people can go into so they can move them out of Rafah. But then they want to just kill the terrorists because, you know what? They're terrorists. Oh boy. Yeah. I wonder why the military of Israel is targeting these people. Well, because they're terrorists. But then the people that are citizens, get to leave the area that they're going to bomb. And you know, so many people say that Israel's committing a genocide. It just does not make much sense whatsoever. Why the heck would a country alert people and civilians to get to an area that they are not bombing in an attempt for a genocide? It just does not make any sense. If they want to kill massive amounts of people, don't you think that they would do it in the middle of the night without actually warning the people first? Wow, this is the worst genocide in world history if Israel was actually committing a genocide, which they are not, because it does not make any sense whatsoever. You know how many phone calls, text messages, pamphlets that they handed out? Short answer, millions. So with that being said, we're going to sum up this episode right here. I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode than what we usually do, but because of the fact that we have a lot of things incoming, we have another deep dive from Marujo Studios actually being recorded and edited right now. We have a lot of things coming up. So this episode is a little bit shorter in the short term, but in the long term, a lot more content is coming straight up. So with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting, because we did recently reach 1,000 subscribers. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for supporting me. When we just started a few short years ago, we have seen massive amounts of support. So thank you all for that. Thank you all for just sticking with me while we were going through a lot, especially in the beginning times. I do want to say thank you to everyone that has been here. Thank you all for watching me every single day. I could not imagine a time that this would ever happen. I've been doing videos and episodes and stuff like this for years and years. I've been making videos for 10 years, and I have never seen the amount of success that I have on this channel. So I do want to thank you and everybody that supports me every single day for that, from the deepest part of my heart, because I do sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. I would like to actually like a lot more of your guys' comments, but there's a lot of comments that are just disgusting and rude. So that's why I only actually react to a couple of comments per day until I actually am like, okay, this is not good for anyone's mentality to actually see comments like this. But the people that actually send out comments of support and comments of encouragement, that's very, very encouraging, especially in the time of such a division in this country. With common sense not being so common in this country anymore, it's hard to have a civilized conversation with some people because they just don't realize that they're just not having any common sense whatsoever. So again, I want to thank you all for supporting me. I want to thank you all for watching every single day, and I want to thank you all for sticking by me every single day. With that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day.